Hi everyone, and welcome to this Flash animation tutorial where we're going to look at how to make our animations come alive. We're going to look at some techniques to make them just a little bit more interesting. Here we've got a scene, and my scene has 5 different layers. There's the sky, the mountains, a rocket, a river, and a stand. There's the stand. And as you can see, if you look at the timeline, there's not much happening on any of the layers except for the rocket layer. And the action starts to happen just about here, and the rocket starts to take off. Brilliant. But really, I'm not very happy with this. It's a little bit boring. I would like my rocket to be a little bit more fun to look at. So today we're going to look at a technique to make the rocket more interesting. I'm just going to delete my rocket layer. Sorry, rocket. We'll get back to you later, okay? Let's just start again with my rocket. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the window menu and open up my library. And I'm going to create in my library a new symbol, which is going to be my rocket. Now what happens when I do that? Let's just close the well, we'll just move the library over here for a minute. Can we just make it a bit smaller? Yeah, okay. What happens is I've just come into a little movie area called Rocket. Notice that it's empty. Nothing has been created yet. I could go back to scene 1, and there's my scene 1. And in my library, I've just created a symbol called Rocket. So if I go into that symbol, I come into a new blank design area. So I'm going to take layer 1. I'm going to call this rocket body. And let's quickly see if we can figure out how to draw a rocket body. Mine's going to be red. I don't want any stroke. Just want a red fill. Let's just start to design the rocket. Bear with me while I do this. Just going to take a moment. Okay, let's just kind of make it a bit funky. We could do that, then we can do that, then we can do that. Brilliant. Okay, so there's the rocket body. I'm just going to organize my drawing a little bit by putting different elements of the rocket on different layers. There's the body. I'm going to make a new layer called Windows, and just going to have some yellow circles as windows. Let's just design it over here for a minute. Yeah, that's okay. Stick it there. Brilliant. Just going to select it, Alt, click and drag, and I get a quick one. Quick way to copy. Let's just make it a bit smaller, drag it into position. And I'm just going to do the same thing again. Select it, Alt on the keyboard, Alt, and click and drag, and I get a new one. Brilliant! So I've got my Windows layer, and I've got the body layer. Brilliant! Okay, this is looking good. Let's see if I can select the top of the rocket. Yep, that's what I want. I'm just going to make that a different color. Alright, that's just terrific. Now what I want as well is some flames coming out of the bottom of the rocket. So here we're going to design some flames. I'm going to choose a kind of an orange rectangle to start. And let's just mess around with this a little bit to make it look kind of cool. There we go. Those are the orange flames under the rocket. Brilliant. So if I go back to scene 1, I can now make my rocket layer, go into my library and drag a new rocket into my scene. I can resize it, put it into position. Excellent. So it starts there and it sits at the stand for a little bit. Let's just lock some of these layers, lock the river. We'll stay with the rocket layer. And about on frame 30, F6, it starts to move up into the sky. A little bit shaky. I wonder if it's going to be alright. So there we go, and the rocket flies off. Let's just test that. So it sits and waits, and then it takes off. Brilliant. Okay. It's still not very interesting, so I'm going to go back into my rocket. You can do that, by the way, just by double-clicking on the symbol. We're now back into the rocket area. I'm just going to focus on the flames. Now the flames are kind of active. In the first frame of the flames layer in the rocket movie clip, the flames look like that. And maybe in the fifth frame, I'm going to do an F6. They look like that. And they stay like that until frame 10. And then nothing changes. I just want them to stay looking like that. So that's the flames. Now windows, we need to see them until the 10th frame, so F5. And we also need to see the rocket body. They're not changing, so I'm just pressing F5 on the keyboard. So now my rocket movie clip looks like that. If we do Control, Test Scene, we don't see anything. Okay. Let's go back to Scene 1 and Control Enter. Okay. So just so we can really see what's going on, let's just play with that a little bit. F6, another F6 will make it look like he's kind of turning around and coming back down again. F6, 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 oh dear, it's just a bit tricky. F6, 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 and it kind of looks like it's landing again. Okay. That's a bit weird, isn't it? From frame 54 to 69 is not doing anything, so I'm just going to remove those frames. And now I'm going to remove these frames, tidy everything up. That's better. Okay, Control Enter. And let's just have everything staying on the scene just for a few more frames. Just going to F5 on all of those layers to keep everything on the scene. Nothing's changing. Okay, so our rocket is looking a little bit more interesting because we've managed to make those animated flames within a separate symbol called rocket. Okay, so I'm just going to lock that layer for the moment, and I'm going to go to the river. I've already drawn the river, but I want to put the river into my library. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the river and I'm going to convert it to a library symbol. So this is going to be river. It's a movie clip. Okay. Now I'm going to double click on this to go into the river. I'm now inside the river movie clip. There we go. There's the river. So layer 1 is river. I'm going to make a new layer called ripples. Let's just lock river for a minute. We'll zoom in. Okay, let's just draw some quick ripples. I want them to be, yeah, grey is fine. That's it. Let's just, I don't know what this is going to look like really, but we'll drag out a few ripples. Let's just make that one a bit wider. We'll drag out another one, and we'll just make it a bit wider. Brilliant. So in our ripples, in our river movie clip, on the ripples layer, in frame 1, the ripples look like that, and maybe in frame 4 or 5, I don't know, I'll have to play with it and see. I'm going to do F6, and I'm just going to, okay, let's keep the river in there, just nothing changes on the river layer, so I'm just going to do F5 on there. There we go. Back to ripples. I'm just going to move them kind of forward a little bit to make it look like they're kind of moving. Just ripples on the river. So it starts in that position and it stays for 4 frames, then it changes, and I'm just going to make it stay in that position for 4 frames. Now let's go back to scene 1. We now have a rocket from the library, and I also have a river. Control Enter. The river looks like it's flowing, the rocket's taking off, things are starting to happen to the different characters in my movie clip. Okay? So have a go and see if you can make a more interesting animation by making your little movie clips come alive.